Bobby Drake, aka Iceman. He is one of the original members of the X-Men and one of the most powerful Omega-level mutants in Marvel Comics. His main ability is cryokinesis, which means he can control ice, snow, and temperature. By freezing the moisture in the air, Bobby can create ice slides, shields, weapons, and massive structures during battle. He can also transform his body into living organic ice, making him extremely durable and resistant to damage. Over the years, Bobby's powers have grown far beyond simple ice blasts. As his control improved, he learned to manipulate water and temperature on a molecular level. This means he doesn't just freeze existing ice. He can freeze moisture directly out of the atmosphere, control large bodies of water, and reshape ice with incredible precision. He can even create ice duplicates of himself and spread his consciousness through nearby snow or ice, effectively allowing him to exist in multiple places at once. Because of these abilities, Iceman is considered almost impossible to kill. Even if his body is shattered, he can simply rebuild himself from surrounding moisture or ice. This level of control over water and temperature is what makes him an Omega-level mutant. His power has no known upper limit, and with enough water around him, Bobby Drake can potentially control ice on an enormous, even planetary scale. Jean Grey. She is one of the most powerful mutants in the Marvel Universe and a founding member of the X-Men. Her mutant powers first appeared when she was a child after witnessing the traumatic death of her best friend. The shock triggered a massive psychic outburst that revealed her abilities as both a telepath and a telekinetic, allowing her to read minds, communicate mentally, and manipulate objects with her thoughts. As she grew older and joined Professor X's first class of X-Men, Jean quickly became one of the team's most powerful members. Her telepathy is considered Omega level, meaning her psychic potential has no known upper limit. Jean can communicate across enormous distances, manipulate memories, control thoughts, and even battle other powerful psychics on the astral plane. Combined with her telekinesis, she can move massive objects, generate force fields, and unleash devastating psychic attacks. Jean's powers reached its most legendary level when she bonded with the cosmic entity known as the Phoenix Force. As the Phoenix, and later the Dark Phoenix, Jean gained nearly limitless cosmic power, capable of manipulating matter and energy on a massive scale. Even without the Phoenix, however, Jean remains one of the most powerful mutants in existence, with psychic abilities strong enough to challenge cosmic beings and shape events across the entire Marvel Universe. Quentin Quire, aka Kid Omega. He is a rebellious and often arrogant student of the X-Men who possesses Omega-level telepathy. With his mind alone, he can read thoughts, manipulate memories, create powerful mental illusions, and project devastating psychic blasts that can overwhelm even experienced opponents. Beyond basic telepathy, Quentin can also create psionic constructs, shaping psychic energy into weapons, shields, or barriers. These constructs allow him to fight both mentally and physically, making him dangerous in combat. He can also enter the astral plane, influence the minds of large groups of people, and mentally communicate across vast distances. His powers are strong enough to rival some of the most experienced telepaths in the X-Men. What truly sets Quentin apart is his extraordinary intelligence. His mind processes information at incredible speeds, generating millions of thoughts every second, and this allows him to analyze situations, outthink enemies, and adapt quickly in battle. As a member of Krakoa's intelligence team, X-Force, Quentin has embraced his Omega-level status and continues to prove that he is one of the most powerful psychic mutants of his generation. Joshua Foley, aka Elixir. He is one of the most powerful biological mutants. As an Omega-level mutant, Elixir possesses the ability of biokinesis, meaning he can control the biological structure of living organisms at the cellular and genetic level. With a simple touch, he can heal injuries, cure diseases, repair damaged organs, and even restore people from near death. Over time, Joshua discovered that his powers were not limited to healing. Because he can manipulate life on a molecular level, Elixir can also induce disease, shut down organs, or drain life force, effectively giving him the power to kill as easily as he can heal. This dual nature of his abilities is reflected in his appearance. His skin normally glows metallic gold when he uses his powers to heal, but it turns deep black whenever he uses them to harm or kill. His powers eventually became so advanced that he gained the ability to resurrect the dead and even revive himself. Because of this incredible control over life and death, he became a key part of the mutant nation of Krakoa's resurrection system, helping restore fallen mutants back to life. And this near limitless control over biology is what makes Elixir one of the most unique and dangerous Omega-level mutants in existence. Gabriel Summers, aka Vulcan. He is the younger brother of Cyclops and Havoc, and as an Omega-level mutant, Vulcan possesses the ability to manipulate and absorb virtually any form of energy. He can draw power from electricity, heat, radiation, and even cosmic energy, then redirect it as devastating blasts, protective force fields, or bursts that allow him to fly. Vulcan's powers go beyond simple energy projection, because he can control energy at such a fundamental fundamental level, he can also interfere with the powers of other mutants, sometimes suppressing or redirecting their abilities. This level of control makes him incredibly dangerous in combat, allowing him to adapt to almost any opponent and turn their own power sources against them. With these overwhelming abilities, Vulcan eventually conquered the Shi'ar Empire and claimed its throne. His power was so great that he managed to stand toe-to-toe with extremely powerful figures like Black Bolt. However, Vulcan's intense anger and unstable personality often push him toward destructive choices. Franklin Richards. He is the son of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. Even as a child, Franklin displayed extraordinary abilities that set him apart from most mutants. His powers manifested very early in life, revealing that he possessed an incredibly rare Omega-level mutation. His main ability is reality manipulation on a universal scale. With his powers, he can reshape reality however he wants, creating entire pocket universes, altering the laws of physics, and even erasing enemies from existence. He has also shown the ability to manipulate cosmic forces, move celestial bodies across space, and repair damaged timelines. In some stories, Franklin has even helped rebuild parts of the multiverse itself. Despite this nearly limitless power, Franklin often suppresses his abilities in order to live a normal life. Alternate futures have shown that if he ever used his powers to their full extent, he could become one of the most powerful entities in existence, powerful enough to shape entire universes or even evolve into a cosmic figure capable of guiding the future of reality itself. Epsilon Mercator, aka Mr. M. He is one of the most mysterious Omega-level mutants. Originally living quietly in New York's mutant town, Mr. M preferred isolation and rarely involved himself in larger conflicts. Despite his calm personality, his mutant abilities were incredibly dangerous and placed him among the most powerful, reality-altering mutants on Earth. He can manipulate matter and energy at the subatomic level. This means he can reshape physical objects, generate heat or nuclear-level energy, and alter the structure of matter itself. With his simple gesture, he can rebuild objects, disintegrate them, or transform them into something completely different. His control over matter is so precise that he can even phase through solid objects and manipulate the internal structure of complex machines. Although he once appeared to die after losing his powers, Mr. M later resurfaced in Otherworld, where he became the ruler of a realm named Mercator. With his immense control over matter and energy, he was eventually recruited by Apocalypse to guard the mystical siege Perilous. Aurora Monroe, aka Storm. She is a longtime leader of the X-Men. Born in Africa and raised partly in Kenya, Monroe's incredible abilities cause many people to view her as a weather goddess. Her Omega-level mutation allows her to control the atmosphere and weather systems, giving her influence over wind, rain, lightning, temperature, and even large-scale climate patterns. Storm's control over weather is extremely precise and incredibly powerful. She can summon hurricanes, create blizzards, and unleash lightning bolts far stronger than those found in nature. Beyond simple storms, she can manipulate atmospheric pressure, control air currents to fly, and even affect entire ecosystems by altering environmental conditions. This mastery of planetary weather systems is what makes her an Omega-level mutant, as her control over the atmosphere has no known upper limit. In addition to her mutant abilities, Storm also comes from a long, ancestral line of African priestesses and witches, giving her a natural connection to mystical forces. Some stories suggest that this heritage allows her to tap into ancient magic, and she also possesses a trait, sometimes called the Godhead, which threatens her presence and influence when people see her as a divine figure. All of this, combined with her leadership skills and immense power, Storm remains one of the most respected and formidable heroes among the X-Men. David Heller, aka Legion. He is one of the most unpredictable mutants. As the son of Professor X, David inherited immense psychic potential, including powerful telepathy and telekinesis. Even at a young age, his abilities were capable of causing massive destruction, making him one of the most dangerous mutants alive. What makes Legion truly unique is that his mind developed multiple personalities, often called alters. Each alter has its own identity and its own superpower, meaning that David doesn't just have one mutation. He has access to potentially thousands. Early on in his story, he had only a few alters with abilities like telepathy, telekinesis, and pyrokinesis, but over time many more personalities appeared inside his mind. Because of this, Legion's Omega-level mutation is best described as power manifestation. Every time a new personality forms, it can come with an entirely new ability. Some versions of Legions have shown reality manipulation, time control, and other extremely powerful abilities. With so many powers and personalities inside him, Legion is widely considered one of the most powerful mutants in existence, though controlling his own mind is often his greatest challenge. Hope Summers. She is one of the most important mutants to appear after the devastating events of M-Day, which nearly wiped out the entire mutant population. When Hope was born, she was the first mutant child born after the event, making many believe she represented the future of mutant kind. Because of this, several groups, including the Marauders and the Purifiers, tried to capture or kill her, forcing the X-Men to fight to keep her safe. Hope was eventually taken into the future by Cable, who raised and trained her for years. Under Cable's guidance, she learned combat skills, weapon training, and survival tactics. But her true strength was her unique mutant ability, which began to manifest as she grew older. Hope's mutation allows her to copy and amplify the powers of nearby mutants. When she's surrounded by other mutants, she can replicate their abilities and even boost them to stronger levels. This power became incredibly important in the Crack One era, where Hope played a key role in the Five, the group responsible for the resurrection protocols that allowed mutants to be brought back to life. Jamie Braddock, aka Monarch. He is the older brother of Captain Britain and Psylocke, and he discovered his abilities later in life when his mutant powers began manifesting in extreme and unpredictable ways. His mutation allows him to manipulate reality by pulling on what he describes as quantum strings. By altering these fundamental strands of reality, he can reshape the world around him however he chooses. This gives him abilities such as teleportation, altering matter, distorting bodies into unnatural forms, and causing chaotic changes to the environment. His control over reality makes him incredibly dangerous, especially because his mental instability often leads him to use his powers recklessly. As his abilities grew stronger, Jamie became a serious threat to the stability of reality itself. At one point, his own siblings were forced to kill him to prevent his powers from endangering the multiverse. However, during the Krakoan era, he was resurrected by the Five, and he later used his reality warping abilities to become the unpredictable ruler of Avalon in Otherworld, fully embracing the title of Monarch. Max Eisenhart, aka Magneto. He is the longtime rival of the X-Men. As the master of magnetism, he possesses the Omega level ability to control magnetic fields and electromagnetic energy. With this power, he can manipulate metal, generate powerful electromagnetic blasts, create nearly impenetrable force fields, and even levitate himself to fly. His control over magnetism is far more advanced than simply bending metal. Because magnetism is part of the planet's electromagnetic system, he can manipulate Earth's magnetic field itself, disrupt technology, and even influence gravity-like forces by controlling electromagnetic energy. He has demonstrated the ability to survive in space by surrounding himself with protective magnetic fields and can even control the iron in a person's bloodstream, showing how precise and dangerous his abilities truly are. Because of this immense power, Magneto has long been feared as one of the most dangerous mutants on Earth. However, in the Krakoan era, he became one of the leaders of mutant kind, helping build the mutant nation of Krakoa alongside former enemies like Professor X. His Omega-level control over magnetism and his unwavering belief in protecting mutants have made Magneto one of the most influential figures in mutant history. Kevin McTaggart, aka Proteus. He is the son of Moira McTaggart, and from a young age, he developed the ability to warp reality by manipulating energy around him. His powers were so intense that his original human body could not contain them, eventually burning out and leaving him as a being made almost entirely of psionic energy. Because his physical form could not survive his mutation, Proteus developed the need to possess the bodies of other people in order to exist in the physical world. However, the immense strain of his reality warping abilities causes each host's body to deteriorate quickly. In his earliest appearances, he jumped from one victim to another, leaving destruction behind as each body eventually burned out under the pressure of his power. And during the Krakoan era, the mutant resurrection protocols changed his fate. Instead of stealing bodies, he now has access to specially created blank mutant husks that allow him to exist without harming others. In fact, Proteus became an essential part of the system used to resurrect mutants, using his reality warping powers to help restore fallen mutants to life. Bani Dapari, aka Exodus. He is an ancient mutant who first lived during the 20th century Crusades. Even in that era, he possessed extraordinary psychic abilities that set him apart from others. His life changed after encountering Apocalypse, who enhanced his powers and transformed him into one of the most powerful mutant followers of his time before sealing him away for centuries. He is best known for his Omega-level telekinesis, making him one of the most powerful telekinetic mutants in existence. With his mind alone, he can lift enormous objects regardless of their size, generate powerful force fields, and unleash devastating psionic attacks. His abilities are so vast that he has demonstrated feats such as manipulating matter, creating water from nothing, and displaying destructive power on a massive scale. Another unique aspect of his power is that his strength can increase based on the belief of others. When people place faith in him, his psionic energy grows stronger, allowing him to reach even greater levels of power. In the past, he sometimes resorted to drain psychic energy from others to sustain himself, but during the Krakoan era, he found stability among mutant kind, where his immense abilities are now used to support the mutant nation. Annihilation, aka Genesis. She was the wife of Apocalypse, and her philosophy of survival and strength deeply influenced him. In many ways, Genesis helped shape Apocalypse into the powerful mutant leader he eventually became. Genesis possesses Omega-level chlorokinesis, meaning she has complete control over plant life. With this ability, she can command vegetation, manipulate ecosystems, and influence plant-based organisms on a massive scale. Her control is so advanced that she can even connect with the microscopic plant life inside living beings, such as good flora, allowing her to spy on others or sense activity across large areas. During the ancient wars against the demonic forces of Ament, Genesis proved to be an incredibly powerful warrior and leader. Even though she rarely needed to display the full extent of her abilities, her mastery over plant life was considered so powerful that many believed she was even stronger than Apocalypse himself. When she later returned as a champion of Arako, her presence once again showed why she was regarded as one of the most powerful mutants from the ancient age of Okara. Idel, the Future Seer. She was an Omega-level mutant from the ancient mutant civilization of Arako and a member of the Great Ring of Arako. She was the daughter of the legendary prophet known as the High Mutant Prophet Idel, inheriting the same rare and powerful ability to see the future. From a young age, she carried the burden of knowing events that had yet to happen. Her Omega-level power was true precognition, allowing her to witness visions of the future with incredible accuracy. Unlike many characters with predictive abilities, Idel did not simply see possible timelines. She saw what she believed to be the true future. However, despite her immense foresight, she was unable to alter the events she foresaw, which meant she often had to watch tragic outcomes unfold without being able to stop them. At one point, Charndi and Karin cut out her tongue, preventing her from speaking her prophecies aloud. Later, during the attack on Arako by Uranus, the warrior Iskadian Beacon was forced by her power to always side with the winning side and switched allegiances, ultimately killing Idol. And even in that, her prophecies continue to shape the destiny of mutant kind. Iskadian Beacon. She comes from the ancient mutant society of Arako and is the sister of Genesis, making her part of a powerful family connected to Apocalypse. For thousands of years, Iska survived brutal wars and conflicts thanks to a mutation unlike any other. Her power is deceptively simple. She cannot lose. Her mutation constantly manipulates circumstances to ensure that she wins any challenge or conflict she enters. Sometimes, this means gaining the exact skills needed to defeat an opponent, while other times, reality itself seems to bend in her favor. In some cases, her power even forces her to switch sides automatically if the opposing side is destined to win, ensuring that she always ends up on the victorious side. This ability makes Iska nearly impossible to defeat, but it also comes with strange consequences. Because her power forces her to follow the path of victory, it can override her personal loyalties. Lactuca the Knower. She serves on the Great Ring of Arako, holding the seat of Above Us. Lactuca rarely reveals her true appearance, covering her entire body in dark cloth, decorated with star-like patterns. She is known as a universal shaper, meaning she can manipulate space itself on a cosmic scale. Unlike her counterpart, Manifold, who communicates with the universe, Lactuca is said to sync to the universe, guiding space to move and reshape itself. With this power, she can teleport herself or others across vast distances, with direct teleportation paths, and even close massive dimensional rifts in space. Her abilities go even further with an extraordinary level of cosmic awareness, as she can perceive the position of everything in the universe and can sense events through the perspectives of other beings. She can also share this knowledge by linking minds with others, and combined with her ability to grow to enormous size, hide herself from powerful enemies, and manipulate space itself, Lactuca stands as one of the most powerful Omega-level mutants in existence. Lodes Logis. He's a member of the Great Ring of Arako, where he held the seat of dreams on the Table of Dusk. In this role, he represented creativity, art, and culture for the Araki people. Known as both a poet and a sculptor, Lodes Logis approached his immense power with a surprising artistic mindset rather than using it purely for warfare. His Omega-level mutation allows him to create any metal simply by speaking words. Through carefully chosen phrases or poetic lines, he can generate unlimited amounts of metal and shape it into any form he imagines. The more refined his words are, the more precise and perfectly the resulting object becomes. While this power could easily be used to create massive structures or weapons, he often prefers to craft smaller, carefully designed items such as blades or sculptures. Despite the destructive potential of his ability, he uses his power more like a form of living art. By combining poetry with metal creation, he turns language into a tool for shaping reality. His calm and thoughtful nature, along with his creative approach to power, made him a respected figure among the mutants of Arako and a trusted ally of Storm. Aura Sriracha, also known as the Witness. She rose to power during the endless wars against the demonic armies of Ament and eventually challenged Yukesh the Bridge for his position on the Great Ring of Araku. After defeating him in a duel, Aura took the seat of law and became the chief authority responsible for judging and enforcing justice among the Araki. As the legal arbiter of Araku, she established what became known as the God Law, forcing even powerful gods to prove their worth before the people of Araku. In her role, she oversees duels and judgments within the Circle, Perilous, and serves as the final authority on legal matters. Her decisions carry enormous weight, and her power makes her judgment absolute. Her ability is known as Existence Erasure. With a single glance, she can completely remove a person or object from existence. However, this power has a specific limitation. It only works on those who submit to the laws she represents. Beings who operate under different cosmic systems, such as Uranus, who follows the eternal principles, can resist her ability. Sobunar of the Depths, also a member of the Great Ring of Araku. He comes from a long lineage of aquatic mutants, making him the third in a line known as Sobunar. His calm and thoughtful nature made him an important voice among the Araki leadership, especially during major decisions about the future of their people. About his power, his body contains an entire oceanic ecosystem within his blood. This living marine system allows him to create and sustain oceans filled with life. And during the terraforming of Mars, later renamed planet Araku, Sobunar contributed some of his blood, which helped form vast oceans across the planet, with assistance from mutants like Hope Summers and Jamie Braddock. Because the oceans originate from his own biology, Sobunar shares a deep connection with them. He can sense and feel everything within the waters he creates, including marine creatures and movements across the seas. In addition to his awareness, he can manipulate water itself and naturally survive in aquatic environments. Charn the Uncaring. She was one of the most feared mutants in Araku's history and a former member of the Great Ring of Araku. Born as a hybrid between an Uncaring mutant and an Amenchi demon, Charn was rejected by both sides, and despite this, his immense power allowed him to rise above others, eventually becoming one of the dominant figures in Araki society during the era when Araku was controlled by Ament. His ability centered on generic and biological manipulation. With his mind alone, he could control and rewrite the DNA of mutants and other living beings. This meant he could remove a mutant's powers, enhance them, grant entirely new abilities, or completely reshape a person's body into something else. His mastery over biology made him incredibly dangerous, as he could effectively redesign living beings however he wished. Using these abilities, Charn created a group known as the Locus Vile, a collection of powerful hybrid mutants like himself who became one of the most feared forces on Araku. Xylo the First Defender. Often simply called Xylo, he is one of the oldest known mutants on Earth. Rather than being a single organism, Xylo exists as an Omega-level instinct collective, meaning countless insect-like entities function together as one consciousness. According to Araki history, Xylo has existed for roughly 2 billion years, making him a living witness to multiple mutant civilizations, including Threshold, Okara, and Araku. Because of this immense age and knowledge, he is often regarded as a living record of mutant history. His mutation allows him to manipulate Earth and soil on a massive scale. During the terraforming of Mars into planet Araku, he merged with the planet itself to reshape the land, enrich the soil with nutrients and minerals, and help create the conditions needed for life. His powers also allow him to generate microscopic life within the soil, helping establish ecosystems capable of supporting a breathable atmosphere. As an insect collective, Xylo is effectively immortal, constantly replacing lost parts of himself with new insects from the swarm. He can also separate into countless tendrils, capable of attacking enemies or merge with other beings to partially or fully control their bodies. Nameless, the Shapeshifter Queen. She held the seat of all around us in the Great Ring of Araku and led the Noontide division of the Council, making her the action regent of Araku during times of peace. In this role, Nameless was responsible for helping guide the planet and maintain stability within Araki society. Her ability allowed her to perfectly copy another person's appearance and powers. When she mimicked someone, she didn't just take their current form, she could replicate them at the peak of their strength, gaining access to their abilities at their most powerful state. This made her an incredibly dangerous opponent, as she could effectively become the strongest version of whoever she chose to imitate. Her power was put to the ultimate test when Storm challenged her for leadership of Araku shortly before the Hellfire Gala. During their duel in the Circle, Perilous, Nameless transformed into Storm at her prime, matching her abilities. However, Storm managed to freeze her in place to stop her shapeshifting. Refusing to surrender, Nameless chose death rather than defeat, ending her rule over Araku in a final act of defiance. Yukesh the Bridge. He is the former holder of the Siege of Law on the Great Ring of Araku. During the long war between Araku and the demonic forces of Ament, Yukesh used his power in a dramatic attempt to strengthen the Iraqi armies. His mutation allowed him to summon gods themselves, forcing divine beings to appear whether they wished to or not. Believing this would secure victory, he summoned around 30 gods and placed them in command of Araku's armies. Unfortunately, this decision backfired. The gods proved arrogant and disorganized, arguing among themselves rather than leading effectively. Under their command, Araku suffered one of the greatest military defeats in its history, with countless soldiers lost in battle. This disastrous outcome ultimately damaged Yukesh's reputation and later led to his downfall when his leadership was challenged. White Sword, sometimes called the White Sword of the Heavens. Long before Krakow and Araku became separate worlds, he fought in the endless wars against the demonic armies of Ament. After taking up the sword of his fallen father, he became a legendary warrior whose name was feared across the battlefield. His power is so powerful that he can restore fatal injuries and even resurrect the dead. Over thousands of years of war in Ament, he repeatedly used this ability to revive his elite warriors, known as the 100 Champions. Every day they would rise again, fight the demons of Ament to the death, and be resurrected once more, creating an endless cycle of battle and rebirth. However, his healing power comes with a strange side effect. When White Sword resurrects someone, he can also place them under his thrall, binding them to his command. These resurrected champions follow him without question, experiencing their servitude almost like a distant dream. After centuries of constant war and resurrection, the endless violence eventually broke White Sword's mind, turning him into a ruthless and relentless warrior who no longer distinguishes between enemies and former allies. Kobak never held. He was born during the final siege of Araku and spent his youth under the brutal occupation known as the Fallow Years. During this time, he formed a deep bond with his lover Charlo, but the rebellion against demonic rule was discovered. Charlo took the blame for their resistance and died in the abyssal prisons, a loss that deeply shaped Kobak's personality. Like many Iraqi warriors, Kobak believes strongly in strength and resilience. The trauma of losing Charlo hardened him, and he claimed that after mourning for a year, he never cried again. Although he initially challenged the authority of Storm, believing an outsider should not rule Araku, he later showed respect toward Sunspot after the two bonded over their shared experiences of loss. His mutation allows him to transform into a powerful animalistic form covered in sharp quill-like spines. In this form, he gains enhanced strength, claws, and the ability to launch razor-sharp spines from his body as deadly projectiles, and these spines are capable of piercing almost any material. Lycan to Wolves. He was a mutant from Araku who eventually became a member of the Great Ring of Araku. After the assault on Araku by Uranus, the leadership of the Great Ring changed dramatically. During this period of upheaval, Lycan won the seat of Stalemate, the position previously held by the prophet Idol the Future Seer. His mutation allowed him to transform into a lupine or wolf-like form. In this state, he gained sharp, retractable claws, enhanced physical abilities, and a strong regenerative healing factor. During the Genesis War, Lycan chose to side with Genesis. Even after the war ended, his warrior instincts pushed him to continue fighting, but this relentless desire for battle ultimately led to his death when he was struck by a powerful energy blast. Ordon, the Omega Rocket. He was known for his incredible speed and destructive propulsion powers. During the chaotic period of the Genesis War, when the Great Ring of Araku split into opposing factions, Ordon was given the Seat of Loss by Genesis in her rival version of the Council. Ordon can generate a powerful thermochemical energy field that propelled his body like a living rocket. As he flew, his speed constantly increased, meaning the longer he traveled, the faster and more powerful his impact became. This made him an extremely dangerous weapon in battle, capable of striking enemies with devastating force while surrounded by an energy field that he claimed made him nearly invulnerable. But despite his power, his life ended during the war. While flying across Araku, he passed through territory controlled by Escadian Beaton, who immediately killed him for trespassing. Although his exterior was protected by his energy field during flight, it was later revealed that his mount remained vulnerable, providing a weakness that could bypass his otherwise formidable defenses. Death. Death is one of the first horsemen of Apocalypse, and among the most powerful mutants to emerge from ancient Okara. As the son of Apocalypse and Genesis, Death inherited immense power and the brutal warrior culture of Araku. Among the Force Horsemen, War, Famine, Pestilence, and Death, he is often considered the most dangerous and ruthless. Death possesses an Omega-level mutation centered around a devastating death case. When he unleashes this ability, his terror releases a corrosive mist capable of disintegrating living beings into ash. The power is so destructive destructive that even Death himself can be harmed by its effects under certain circumstances. In addition to this deadly power, Death can sense the life force of living beings, allowing him to detect the presence of life around him. Like the rest of Apocalypse's family, he also possesses enhanced longevity and extreme resilience, surviving severe injuries that would kill most mutants. And despite his loyalty to his family, Death eventually showed independence by turning against his mother Genesis and joining Storm and Apocalypse to help end the Iraqi civil war. Famine is also one of the first horsemen of Apocalypse, and his mutations centered around water manipulation. He can control moisture with incredible precision, shaping water into deadly weapons such as slicing blades or massive tidal waves capable of devastating entire battlefields. Even more terrifying is his ability to drain all moisture from a living body, instantly desiccating his enemies and killing them through extreme dehydration. This power makes him one of the most lethal combatants among the horsemen, and he can eliminate opponents without even needing to physically strike them. Like the rest of Apocalypse's family, Famine also has enhanced longevity and immense combat experience, having trained for thousands of years in relentless warfare. Pestilence, also one of the legendary first horsemen of Apocalypse. When Okara was invaded by the demonic forces of Ament, Pestilence and her family were trapped there for thousands of years, fighting in an endless war that hardened her into one of the most feared mutants of her era. Pestilence possessed abilities tied to disease and biological corruption. In battle, she wielded a bow and fired arrows laced with deadly toxins that could infect enemies with deadly diseases almost instantly. These plagues could spread rapidly across armies, turning the battlefield itself into a biological weapon. Combined with her strategic mind and military leadership, she became both a powerful warrior and a dangerous commander capable of leading vast mutant forces. Despite her immense power, she ultimately met her end at the hands of her own brother, Death. War possesses Omega-level pyrokinetic abilities, allowing her to generate and manipulate immense flames in combat. She can channel this fire directly into her weapon, increasing their destructive power, or shape the flames into parts of her own body. When she once lost a hand in battle, she simply replaces it with a blazing limb made of fire. Her signature weapon, the sword Vermilion, further amplifies her fire-based abilities. Her story is deeply tied to the events of the X of Swords, where she fought as one of Oraku's champions during the legendary tournament between Krakow and Oraku. War's martial skills and endless flame powers made her one of the most dangerous combatants in the conflict. Nate Grey, aka X-Man. Born in the alternate age of Apocalypse timeline, Nate was genetically engineered by Mr. Sinister using the DNA of Cyclops and Jean Grey. The goal was simple: create the ultimate mutant weapon. As a result, Nate emerged as an Omega-level psionic, possessing immense telepathic and telekinetic power that rivals the greatest psychic beings in the Marvel Universe. He can read and influence millions of minds simultaneously, create complex illusions, erase memories from entire populations, and mentally control even extremely powerful mutants. He can also manipulate matter down to the molecular or subatomic level, generate nearly indestructible force fields, fly at extreme speeds, and unleash devastating concussive blasts capable of destroying cities. At times, his powers have been so immense that characters like Moira McTaggart suggested his psionic strength could rival Dark Phoenix-level Jean Grey. Beyond standard psychic abilities, Nate eventually evolved into something far more unusual, and that's a living psionic entity. After dissolving his physical body into pure psychic energy, his consciousness continued to exist on the astral plane, allowing him to rebuild his body at will or possess other hosts. From this state, he can absorb psionic energy, manifest psychic weapons and armor, manipulate space and matter, teleport across dimensions, and even warp reality itself. In one storyline, Nate used his powers to create an entire alternate reality known as the Age of X-Men, reshaping history and memories to build a mutant utopia sustained entirely by his psychic will. Because of these feats, Nate Grey has often been described as a near omnipotent being, sometimes compared to cosmic forces in power, though his power has fluctuated over time, sometimes burned out or temporarily limited. It repeatedly returns stronger than before, cementing Nate Grey as one of the most dangerous and godlike mutants in the Marvel multiverse. Forge. For most of his life, Forge was already considered one of the greatest inventors in the Marvel Universe, capable of competing intellectually with minds like Tony Stark. He intuitively designed and built solutions to complex problems, often creating advanced technology that others could never imagine. This challenge made him an essential figure during the Krakowan era, where he helped develop the revolutionary biotechnology that powers the island nation of Krakoa. his abilities extend beyond simple engineering, as his mind instinctively identifies the exact tools, machines, or systems needed to solve any challenge, allowing him to invent incredibly advanced devices almost effortlessly. Because of this, he has built everything from experimental weapons and cybernetic systems to sophisticated biotech infrastructure that helped transform Krakoa into a thriving mutant civilization. In addition to his technological genius, Forge also has training as a Native American shaman, giving him knowledge of mystical practices and magic, skills he rarely uses but still possesses. Eventually, Forge took his abilities even further by using his own power to evolve himself into an Omega level mutant, greatly expanding his capacity for invention and strategic foresight. With this upgrade, he can perceive potential global threats and design precise technological solutions to stop them before they spiral into chaos. As a result, Forge has become one of the most valuable minds in mutant society and has even stepped into leadership roles such as leading X-Force. Professor X. He is the founder of the X-Men and recognized as an Omega-level telepath. Xavier possesses what many characters in Marvel describe as the most powerful mind on Earth. His psionic abilities allow him to read, influence, and communicate with minds across vast distances. When connected to advanced devices like Cerebro, Xavier can link with nearly every mind on the planet. His telepathic powers allow him to perform an extraordinary range of mental feats. He can read thoughts, project his own ideas into others' minds, create incredible realistic psychic illusions, or cloak himself and others from mental detection. Xavier can also establish permanent mind links, erase memories, implant new thoughts, or temporarily control the actions of other people. His psychic strength allows him to unleash devastating psionic blasts that can render enemies unconscious or even kill them. Additionally, Xavier can sense the presence of mutants through their unique mental signatures, communicate across language barriers through telepathic translation, and even transfer his consciousness into another body if his own body is destroyed. Beyond telepathy, Xavier has demonstrated several advanced psionic abilities rarely seen among telepaths. He can project himself into the astral plane, where he can interact with other minds or create constructs made of psychic energy. Over time, he has also shown telekinetic abilities, as he can manipulate objects with his mind, disrupt advanced technology, and even dismantle powerful machines like Sentinels or Nimrod by tearing part of their components at a distance. Combined with his vast intelligence and leadership, Xavier remains one of the central figures in mutant history, shaping the future of mutant kind and guiding them toward peaceful coexistence with humanity. Maggot. Instead of a normal digestive system, Maggot's body contains two massive sentient slug-like creatures named Eenie and Meenie. Because of this mutation, Maggot himself cannot eat food. Instead, the slugs leave his body and devour nearly any type of matter at incredible speed. Once they finish feeding, they return to his abdomen and transfer the absorbed energy into Maggot's body, temporarily granting him enhanced strength, durability, speed, and endurance, while also turning his skin a deep blue. Eenie and Meenie are highly intelligent and operate with a degree of independence from Maggot. They share a telepathic bond with him, allowing them to communicate and coordinate effortlessly. This connection also provides Maggot with a unique form of telepathic resistance. When telepaths attempt to read his mind, they encounter a disruptive psychic backlash caused by the presence of the slugs, even inducing fear or confusion in the attacker. The slugs can also help him recover from injuries, demonstrating symbiotic healing, such as helping reattach a severed limb after severe damage. And after a major confrontation involving Juggernaut and the intervention of Storm, Maggot underwent a dramatic transformation powered by divine energy. This event elevated him to an Omega-level mutant, greatly amplifying his abilities. Through the energy generated by Eenie and Meenie, Maggot can now increase his size to enormous proportions, potentially reaching colossal kaiju-like levels.